Hey everyone, and welcome to this devotional from the You Need Faith in Jesus team. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most powerful creation songs in the entire Bible, Psalm 104. We're going to see how this ancient poem pulls back the curtain on a God who is both this incredibly majestic creator and, at the same time, a deeply personal and merciful provider. Let's jump in.
So, right out of the gate, this psalm doesn't start with a quiet thought. It starts with a powerful command. The psalmist is talking to his own soul, telling it, "Bless the Lord." You see, this isn't just a suggestion. It's a deliberate act of the will, a way of stirring up your own heart to worship. It sets this really personal, really intimate tone for everything that follows.
And this really gets to the core of what worship is all about. It's not some outward show we put on, but this inner response to who God truly is. I love this imagery the psalmist uses, picturing God's character as these magnificent royal robes, literally clothed with honor and majesty. It's a picture of just supreme authority and breathtaking glory.
Right. So the big idea here is that worship isn't a performance for others. It's an internal, personal recognition of God's greatness. And it's no accident this sounds familiar. It echoes the start of the previous psalm, Psalm 103, which also begins with, "Bless the Lord, O my soul." So, whether we're thinking about God's incredible forgiveness or his amazing creation, the response is always the same: heartfelt, genuine praise. Okay, so after starting with this personal call to worship, the psalmist zooms way out, from his own soul to the entire cosmos. And this first major theme is all about the absolutely breathtaking scale of God's power. He's inviting us to just witness God's total and complete command over all of creation. Wow. The imagery here is just absolutely stunning. Think about that. God doesn't just make light, he wears it like a piece of clothing, a symbol of his pure, unapproachable glory. And the vastness of the heavens? He stretches them out as easily as you or I would pull a curtain across a window. It's this beautiful mix of immense power and a personal, creative touch.
And the poetry just keeps getting better. This verse gives us a picture of God's total mastery over the elements. The clouds, which can seem so massive and powerful to us, are just his personal chariot. He just casually walks on the wings of the wind. See, in this psalm, nature isn't some untamable, wild force. It's a tool in the hands of the Creator.
So you've seen this pattern, right? Everything in creation serves his purpose. Even spiritual beings, as it says in verse 4, are his swift servants. In fact, the book of Hebrews actually quotes this verse in chapter 1, verse 7, to show that angels are ministers who carry out God's will with the speed and intensity of a blazing fire. Okay, now the psalm paints this incredible scene, and it sounds a lot like the creation story in Genesis. Just picture it, the chaotic primordial waters covering everything. But at the mere sound of God's voice, what the psalm calls his rebuke, they just flee, they run away. This is such a powerful portrait of absolute authority bringing perfect order out of total chaos. You see how this connects right back to Genesis, where God creates order by setting boundaries. And here's the amazing thing for you and me. This isn't just some ancient story. It's a profound reminder that the very same God can speak into the chaos of our own lives and set boundaries for the troubles we face. They can only go as far as he allows. Okay, so you hear all this cosmic, universe-building power, and you can't help but wonder, right? Is this God just too big, too powerful, too distant and remote to really be concerned with my little life?
And boom, the psalmist just pivots. He answers that question with this incredible, beautiful shift in focus. He shows us that the same God who commands the universe is the very same God who is intimately involved in taking care of every single tiny detail. I mean, just look at the details of his care. He sends springs into the valleys for the wild animals, the ones that don't belong to anybody. He gives a home to the birds so they can sing. It's exactly what Jesus was talking about in Matthew 6:26, isn't it? If your heavenly Father feeds the birds of the air, how much more will he care for you?
And then, when he turns his attention to us, to humanity, it gets even better. He's not just checking boxes for survival. No way. He is a generous Father who loves to give good gifts for our well-being and our joy. Wine to make us happy, oil for health, and bread for strength. He provides for us to flourish. And this incredible design extends to every single creature having its own specific place and purpose. The mighty cedars are a home for birds. The high hills are a refuge for wild goats. The takeaway here is so important. In God's creation, there are no accidents. And if God has a designated place for a stork, you better believe he has an intentional purpose and place for you.
God's wisdom is also all over the daily rhythm of time. Night isn't seen as this evil or chaotic thing. It's the specific time he appointed for predators like lions to hunt, seeking their food from God. Then the sun comes up, and it's a whole new shift. Humanity goes out to work. Our daily labor is shown to be a purposeful, God-given part of his created order.
So, after seeing all of this, the psalmist he can't hold it in anymore. He's so overwhelmed by the sheer variety and the incredible wisdom behind every single thing God has made that he just bursts out in praise, exclaiming, "The earth is full of thy riches."
And this next part might be my favorite. He looks at Leviathan, this massive, terrifying sea creature that often represented chaos, and says God made it to play therein. What an incredible perspective shift. It's a reminder that no problem you're facing is too big for the God who created the mightiest creature in the sea just for fun.
Okay, we've been on this grand tour of God's awesome majesty and his tender mercy. So now what? How are you, supposed to respond to all of this? Well, this final section of the psalm gives us the answer.
Well, the first step is simply recognizing our complete and constant dependence on him. Every living thing, great and small, looks to him for food. He is sovereign over life and death. Literally every single breath we take is a gift, sustained by the very same Spirit of God who gives life to the whole world.
And when you really get that, when that profound reality sinks in, the only natural response is what the psalmist does next. He makes a personal commitment. A lifelong promise. He decides that as long as he is alive, as long as he has breath in his lungs, he will sing praise to his God.
So let's break it down into practical steps for us. First, just like the psalmist, we can intentionally stir our own souls to worship every day. Second, we can choose to meditate on him, to make our thoughts about God sweet, as the psalmist says. Third, we can receive his gifts with real joy and gratitude. And finally, we can decide to make praise the very purpose of our lives.
Okay, now the final verse. It can feel a little jarring at first. The psalmist prays for sinners to be removed from the earth. But this isn't about some personal vendetta. It's about a deep, passionate longing to see God's perfect creation purified from the stain of sin, the one thing that's totally out of place in his beautiful world. It's a prayer for God's kingdom to come in its fullness.
And you know what? That prayer, it brings him right back full circle, to the very beginning. He ends with one last personal command to his own heart. Bless thou the Lord, O my soul. And then he opens it up, turning it into a call for all of us to join him. Praise ye the Lord.
So as we finish up, the real takeaway from this amazing psalm isn't just knowing more stuff about God, but having a new way of seeing the world. It leaves us with a question to carry into our day. After this glimpse into God's character, how will you intentionally look for and notice his incredible majesty and his tender mercy in the world around you today?